March 22nd, 2023. Well, it, yesterday passed, and Alvin Bragg didn't indict Trump yet. But I understand that later on here, very shortly, the grand jury will meet again. So we'll have to see how this turns out. But I guess this is the big thing that's happening in the news right now. And it's an important issue because it's beginning to sound a little bit more like Russia or something. I mean, after all, Putin got one of his key political opponents put in prison. So now it looks like the Democrats are trying to put Trump in prison. And speaking about a completely, do I dare say it, trumped up charge, uh, this is the most asinine thing I've ever seen. I mean, even the basis of it, in my opinion, is complete nonsense. I mean, the basic idea is that he was deceptive on how he recorded his financial data. But when you really look at it, was he deceptive? He said it was a legal expense. Well, it was an expense done by his lawyer, Cohen, to negotiate and establish a non-disclosure agreement with an individual who was actually probably trying to blackmail him, basically. And so I don't, I mean, I don't see how that's not a legal expense. I mean, I don't know exactly what words they use, and I guess that'll come out if things get, as things go down the road a little bit. But to me, even the very basis of any kind of charge here is completely nonsense because I don't think there was any deception, really. Now, granted, it wasn't a transparent thing. They didn't detail it item by item, what was in it or anything of that sort. But I don't think you can really deny that the defense, it fell into the general category of legal. I mean, it's a lawyer involved in getting a legal agreement and the expenses involved in doing that. So that's my opinion on that. It's a little different than anything I hear on the news, whether it be the conservative news or the left-wing nonsense. But anyway, that's kind of my thought on the subject. So if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and you can send links to these to other people if they might be interested. Like to get more people following. So yeah, that's kind of my take on that. Of course, needless to say, I guess this is going to go forward eventually. The exact day it's going to happen, whether it be, later this week or early next week or whatever, it looks like they're going to go ahead with it. And it appears that the main motivation is to actually have Trump arrested, to actually have the picture of him as arrested. I don't know if they're going to get him in handcuffs or get him in an orange jumpsuit or how they're going to do it, or whether they'll just have to be arraigned before a judge. I don't know how they're going to do it, but it seems to me like the idea of getting him arrested is the main thing. It's unclear to me they can really get a conviction. And in fact, as near as I can tell, the statute of limitations has basically ran out on it. I mean, as I understand, the state statute on the misdemeanor charge of falsifying a record, which I don't think was done, I think that can even be defended, but the details got to come out before we can say for absolute sure. But as I understand it, there's no basis to say that based on what's publicly known. There's 2 years for the statute of limitations. A felony under the federal law would be 5 years. And these events occurred in October of 2016, right before that election. So we're well past that now. I mean, we're over 6 years past that. So I don't see how there's a basis that this isn't excluded by statute of limitations, regardless of the facts. But that appears to be what they're trying to say anyhow. And we'll just have to, hang in there and follow the development. Obviously, the Republicans are pushing back pretty hard. And I know that, former Vice President Pence condemned it, and I think other people have sort of condemned it. I think even DeSantis did. I guess his rhetoric wasn't strong enough for somebody. And of course, the hardcore Trump people are out putting out the story that somehow there's something rhino about DeSantis. That's nonsense. There's nothing rhino about DeSantis. There's really nothing rhino about Nikki Haley either, or about Pence, or in fact, hardly any of the people are currently running. And now there may be somebody that can put those shoes on later that might run, but they haven't yet. So, in fact, my opinion is that's just stupid, self-destructive. The fact is, almost any Republican that could get the nomination would be so much better than any Democrat that could get their nomination that there's not much to be discussed about it, in my opinion, which is a little bit different. Obviously, I'd like to have the most conservative person who could actually win. One of the issues I still have with Trump is the following: is can he actually win the general election? Now, I would say that he can win the nomination, and unless something happens that would stop him, like these various criminal charges that different Democrat authorities are thinking of putting forth. The most dangerous is a federal one with Jack Smith, because I think this is going to be some kind of concocted conspiracy charge, and there won't be a statute of limitations issue there. So it is a clear D.C. court, which is as bad as they could get for a Republican, with D.C. judges, almost all Democrats and radically liberal. So, and the two or three token Republicans that are there probably are too chicken to actually stand up for what's right on the subject. But at any rate, I'd like to see one of them do it once. At any rate, but the point is, but I do think that in the general election, the well has been so poisoned for Trump that it's going to be difficult, I think, for him to actually win the general election. Now, there is one way he could, and it's this: if there was a third-party candidate with some funding and some charisma to actually get a little bit of play, who ran as kind of a left-of-center figure, and was running against Biden because he's totally bought into the Bernie Sanders agenda, and then he's clearly to the left of Trump, so that the people out there that really don't like Biden, but they really don't like Trump, might just be motivated to vote for him, like many people voted for this Johnson character we had back in 2016. And in that scenario, Trump could win the election, in general election. But if it truly is just Trump versus a Democrat, I don't see what changes over 2020. I mean, you can't get much more pathetic than Biden. And I mean, there is going to be some cleanup of the election processes in places like Georgia. And, well, I don't think Arizona's cleaned theirs up yet. Looking at what happened in their governor's race. I mean, there was the classic voter suppression technique of having the polls collapse on election day, which is the Democrats have long complained about that happening in the minority communities. Well, it certainly happened in the mainstream non-minority communities in Arizona last time. So, but anyhow, that's my view on that. And the other thing about Trump is, of course, if he were to win, he could only have one term. I mean, that would be all he could have, or any other candidate, presumably, that would be able to have 2 full terms, potentially, if they could get reelected. And so that's another argument. But at any rate, Trump is determined to fight, and for the moment, we have to fight for Trump, because this is an issue of principle more than Trump. I mean, the idea that you politicize the legal system to knock off your opponent's major front-running candidate, regardless of anything I said previously, is just completely unacceptable. So, and we'll have to see how that happens. I mean, but as it is right now, I don't see that anybody can actually beat Trump at the moment, assuming that these prosecutions all fail, because basically, the more the merrier as far as the competitors. They'll just split up the people that aren't totally on board with Trump, however many they are, and Trump will pull off 50% of the voters, or whatever it'll be, 48, whatever, and win. So at any rate, that's kind of why I think about that subject. Now, going on to another issue, I guess the Z did come to Moscow and they signed their friendship agreement and all that, so that's still ongoing. And as I expected, the U.S. rejected the Chinese peace plan, which kind of gives a green light to Russia to continue the offensive. And I don't know what Chinese support they'll get, but that's what the issue is. So I'll be posting this on Rumble as always, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. Until next time.